What's up, bro? Welcome to another episode of the BrandonJaneauShow. As you know, I am Brandon Janeau, and like always, on all podcast platforms everywhere, BrandonJaneauShow, social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, BrandonJaneauShow, and of course, YouTube channel. It's where you can find the visuals, this episode, and all various episodes. BrandonJaneauShow, man. I hope you guys enjoy the new episodes that are out. I hope you guys enjoy this episode because tonight I am going back into what I do, and that is life and times with music. Okay, and tonight I'm doing my artist breakdown, man. I'm time to you know get it going. So so tonight artist breakdown is going to be um one of the greatest rappers, one of the greatest lyricists, one of the greatest you know pure um artists, musicians of the last 50 years in hip hop, man. The one, the only Nasir Jones. Nasir Jones, aka Nasty Nas, aka Escobar. Escobar. And of course, the one and only, just Nas. Obvious. Nas. Nasty Nas. Nostradamus, as some people say, is one of the greatest rappers of all time, man. I don't think anybody can sit up here and tell me that he's not. He's influenced so many rappers, so many artists, so many people. Um, with his music, his lyrical ability, his philanthropic work, everything, man. He's one of the rare few people in the industry that I would say actually has kept it true to self, like which is rare to find in the industry like that. And he's been in the game for damn near like since 93, 94. I mean, his first album came out in what, 94? The classic, the iconic, Illmatic came out in 94. Um, April of '94 to be exact. Um, 3 months after I was born, but it is what it is. One of the greatest rap albums of all time, man. It is a legacy. Um, some people can literally sit there and say that's probably one of his greatest albums of all time. Um, which he would eventually go into creating the next album, which was I want to say it was written. I think it was the next album. Yeah, it was written, which has a lot of classics on there too. He's one of those dudes that no matter where he drops, it's going to be one of them albums that you remember immediately. Just like his next project after that, which was I Am, you know, another classic body of work that comes from one of the greats in the industry, one of the greatest rappers of all time. During this time is when he started to really, very often start trying to do new shit. I mean, when you have been an artist that has stayed true to self, you kind of do try to go find some new way of getting people's attention, which leads into his album Nostradamus. And it didn't do as well as everybody thought it would. I mean, it was at the end of 1999. Drops this album. It was his fourth studio album. Not so much critically acclaimed. It wasn't as loved as the first three projects. Like I said, a lot of people thought he kind of was losing it a little bit. I mean, going from the 90s, 94 to now coming into to literally the new millennium in 2000s, and then you drop this album and it's like, okay. Plus, on top of that, it became apparent, obviously, that there was a new king in town, a new king in New York, and that was Jay Z. And Hove did not hold back. He let it be known immediately that he was the new king in town, the new king on the throne, the one that would replace Nas. And that 99 to 2000 to 2001 era of Hove was just legendary. I mean, Rockefeller Records became an actual label and really took off. Nas still had Braveheart and the firm, but in and out. They were in and out. It wasn't really how it was in the '90s when they were running things. which brings me into 2001, and this is where things really got interesting in hip hop. If you were a hip hop fan, if you were born late 90s, 2000s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. What I'm about to get into. The beef between Nas and Hove. It was literally one of those moments in hip hop history that you cannot say if you were alive for it, you cannot remember. There was a moment in hip hop history. At 2001 was particularly that Jay Z drops the Blueprint album, and everybody knows. Well, you know my take already on the Blueprint album. It's one of the greatest hip hop albums of all goddamn time. I have said numerous times that Takeover is the greatest diss record. I know it doesn't get the same appeal or same acclaim as Ether, but Ether is considered one of the greatest diss records. And you know me being who I am, man, I'm like, nah, man, I can't go against what I've always felt. Takeover, I still feel like is one of the greatest diss records. I would take Takeover over Ether any day. But to be fair, and to do this show, I went and listened to Ether. And you know, man, you forget sometimes what songs meant to you when you were young. Like you forget that beat. Holy shit! Like, and then when it comes on, just fuck Jay Z. Hey, dog, you been on my dick, nigga. You love my style, nigga. Fuck Jay Z. Oh, that shit hit different, nigga. That shit hit different, nigga. When when Ether dropped, it became one of those them songs, man. It is perfectly regarded as one of the greatest diss records of all time. I've never sat up here and said it wasn't one of the greatest diss records of all time. I just said I take Takeover over it. But Ether is one of the greatest diss records of all time. Especially when you get to the end of that damn song when he literally says, the shit that make your soul burn slow, the ether, the yeah, ether, the shit that make your soul burn slow. Is he Dame Diddy, Dame Daddy, or Dame Dummy? Oh, I get it. Now I get it. He Diddy, you what he said, he puff you Biggie and he Puffy. Like yo, that shit was I rock hoes, I rock fellas. Like yo, this nigga like you like God damn, really my nigga? It was simple, but it was so effective. And, it's just like damn, nigga. But yeah, man, Ether was that shit was started into the catalyst, and to hear that his brother Jungle had to literally get out the car because he heard Takeover, he heard Blueprint. He was like, nah, nigga, you gotta go get this nigga. You gotta go get this nigga. Fuck that bullshit. It was right after his mom had passed, like, so he was really just not even trying it, and then it just he went in. He was like, fuck it. All right, nigga, you called and let me out on the world stage. All right, nigga, let's get it. The fact that he went in and did Ether, then he dropped Stillmatic after that, man. Stillmatic, also regarded as one of the greatest, albums of the 21st century, one of the best rap albums of all time. Stillmatic, just up there. I don't know if it's up there just like Illmatic, but it's to have a sequel like that. It did show why Nas is one of those guys, man. Which leads into God's Son, and you know, I want to say Illmatic had, and this is where you can correct me when this comes out. I want to say Illmatic had one mic on it too. I'm not too sure on that because I know I Made You Look I Can was on Godson. So yeah, Made You Look, the remix with him, Luda and Jadakiss. That video is legendary, bro. Um, and then he dropped what Street? No, he dropped the Lost tapes. He dropped his first Lost tapes in 2002, I think 2002, 2003. Again, y'all could correct me if I'm wrong on that. When it comes out too. Uh, but I do know he dropped Street Disciples in '04. Well, one of my favorite songs by him off that Street Disciples project, which is Just a Moment with Quan. That bitch is like legendary, bro. Um, Dead Nas had a decision to make at some point in his career. Columbia Records left. He left Columbia Records, became a free agent. And if he was willing to dead the past, which means would he sign under his rival Jay Z, which at the time was unfucking thinkable. Like it was like, bro, like Jay Z and Nas not only are cool, Jay Z signed Nas to Def Jam. Like he went out his way and he signed Nas to Def Jam. Like this isn't like this is a real thing. Like he went out his way and it showed you Jay Z being just a businessman. Like yo, I could dead the past if I could get one of the greatest rappers of all time to sign with me. You know what I'm saying? Like that is crazy, and he never particularly ever went at Nas ever again on that type of situation. I mean, they have made more songs recently in recent times, which again is the craziest shit on the planet. Like if you would have told, and I think I did this when I was doing a Jay Z episode, if you would have told 7-year-old no Brandon that hey, in 2006, Jay Z and Nas are not only gonna team up, not gonna be just cool. Not Nas just not gonna just sign the Def Jam led by Jay Z. He's going to make two records with Hove. In the premise of the in '07, '08, like he's gonna also make records with Jay Z. Like fuck out of here, dude. Which they did on Nas's rap is hip hop is dead project. They did dead pres no not dead president largest Black Republicans on that record, and then of course they teamed back up on American Gangster for Success, which is two of my favorite records by them two dudes ever. You know what I'm saying? So it's rare when you do get a Hove and Nas record. Like that shit is again, you would have told 7-year-old me in 2007 and 2008 you'd be hearing Jay Z and Nas together on a song. You'd be like, nigga, get the fuck out of here. Nigga, that ain't never gonna happen. Are you crazy? Do you hear how these niggas talking about each other? But that beef, I think, should show a lot of people how you could dead shit, even if it is the most craziest thing you could ever think of. To see them niggas dead that shit and not only do that, but be cool with one another, which I think they always was cool. But then when shit, you feel like you gotta step up to the crown, you want the throne, you gotta shoot shots at the nigga that you feel like is sitting on there. So I get it, I totally understand it. But yeah, that was a crazy time. But hip hop is dead dropped, and that is where people really took things like Nas started a whole conversation, which is something that was rare at the time. Was hip hop dead? Like you had to really sit back and actually ask yourself, was hip hop dead? And this is 2006. This isn't like you know what I'm saying. This is like 2006. Like at the time, hip hop at the time wasn't going through what it's going through now, where it's hard to find that hip hop artist or that rapper that you like. Yeah, this nigga fits the it was harder. It wasn't that hard at that time. '06 hip hop, like '06 hip hop was what? Who was hot at the time in '06? Hove, Nas, of course, Wayne, T.I., Jeezy, Kanye, Common. Like hip hop at the time was way more spread out. So for him to say was hip hop dead, it was kind of like a challenge to a lot of the young guys that was coming in to become the next big star, the next Jay Z, the next Nas, the next M, the next Biggie Pac. Like they wanted that mantle. So for him to say that hip hop was dead, it was kind of like what? I remember the song when the song came out. When he did with Will I Am, and I was like, damn, this nigga really just like called the whole project is hip hop is dead. He didn't even try to give it like a question mark, none of that shit. He was like, no, hip hop's dead, in the ground, burial, like. But you saw a lot of people say, nah, nigga, hip hop is not dead, which rose the Lil Waynes and the Kanyes and they got them back on their game. They got them back on their. I ain't trying to be on radio shit always. I gotta go get mine. But hip hop did album wise created a whole generation of rappers feeling like, no, I gotta prove like this is not over. Hip hop is not dead. Hip hop is still thriving. It's still there. Now, I cannot say that shit about this era of hip hop because every nigga sounds the fucking same. It's hard to find the balance, like I said in '06, the balance in '06 and '07, '08, like before all of this, like flipped and it went into the 2009, 2010 era where it was Drake, it was Cole, it was Kendrick, it was Nicki, it was, you know what I'm saying, like Big Sean, Wale. Like before it got into that era, where it was just so positive and wasn't always about the gun toting and all that. And then again, it just went, and now it's in a the drill music phase where I like it, but it's not to the, it's not in that field of hip hop at the time. But it definitely created something. And if hip hop is dead, created a little bit of controversy. Nas's next album, and I remember this controversy. He literally called his next album "nigga." He literally called the album "nigga." If you was alive at that time, if you were born at that time, you were around hip hop at that time, you remember this shit. It was very controversial. Like people was like, "You gonna really call this album nigga?" And then what's so did even word crazier was like the cover. Like the cover is still out there. Like, and then he had to call it untitled because the labels and everybody's like, "Look, distribution." This is when albums still was a thing. Maybe you could do it now and call the album nigga, but at the time you couldn't do that. Like because you still had to go through distributions. They still had to put albums in stores, Walmart and shit like that. Like nobody's gonna put that shit on the racks. So he had to literally rename it and call it Untitled. But the cover spoke for itself. The man literally has a slave with the word with the N, kind of like beat into him. Like it's like damn, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that album came out and did what it did, and then of course, uh distant relevant relatives with him and Damian Marley comes out, and my sister loved that project. I remember her playing that project every time I went home to New Orleans. I remember just listening to that project. My sister loved that project. You know, and then Nas dropped various albums throughout the years. Forgot what he called that fucking album, but with Bye Baby and Daughters on it and everything like that. I forgot what he called that album. And he also had what was the goddamn song called? I don't want to fuck it up. I think it was called Cherry Wine. Cherry Wine with Amy Winehouse, and it was right after I think she had passed. So yeah, that album had that, and then you had like what other albums did Nas drop? But Nas dropped a lot of albums around this time, and then of course it goes into the recent albums that Nas has dropped. His collaboration with Kanye West during that big ass Kanye West time period where he was dropping like 7 albums in 7 days and shit like that. And Nas was one of those albums that Kanye produced, and now his run with Hit Boy from King's Disease series to now the Magic series. Him and Hit Boy. Even his songs with DJ Khaled, on his projects. Of course, like I said, him and Hove. It's rare to hear those two on songs, so to hear them two on Sorry Not Sorry on Khaled project was like an honor to hear that shit. Cause you don't get those moments. Even Nas and Hove teaming up for Ludacris project way back in the day. I do it for hip hop. Like it's a moment when you hear these things. And Nas is one of the greatest rappers of all time. He's like I said, influenced so many rappers. I mean J Cole, um, but J Cole. A lot of the rappers you hear nowadays, that have that same that feel of Nas. J Cole made one of the greatest records talking about Nas. I'm talking about like Let Nas Down. Like it's one of the greatest records ever. Like you hear, how much he admired and respected Nas at the time and still do. It's like wow, that's crazy, man. So this is why I feel like Nas is one of the greatest rappers of all time. Because no matter what has happened in hip hop, you will always remember Nas. He is one of them. He might not, like I said, he might not have the same accolades as Hove. Let's put it like that. He might not have the same accolades as Hove. But when you sit here and you say, who is Hove's, who is Jay Z's comp? Who is the guy that you can literally look across and say, damn, Jay Z had that to go up against? It's Nas. I know Wayne has given the Hove that, but Nas is the one. Nas has always been that guy. Nas was out first. You know what I'm saying? Nas was before Hove came out. So Nas is one of the greatest rappers of all time. When you have the conversation, I think Billboard did their top 50 rappers of all time list. I think Nas is in the top 10. He's that guy. Like he is in that conversation. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. Put pen to paper. Like he's that dude, man. There's not a lot of rappers that can touch Nas still, like lyrically. Like this man could still fucking rap his ass off. Like if you hear him and Wayne do the song Ain't Gonna Never Die, like on the Magic 3 project, like that shit is incredible to hear two of the greatest to ever team up and do something. Or even back in the day when Wayne and him jumped on Rich Boy Ghetto Rich remix with John Legend. Like it's shit like that, man. Like you don't understand how much, and even the embrace of him teaming up with Rick Ross, him and Rose, they got a couple songs that are classic. Him and Jeezy with My President Is Black. Like it's artists like that, songs like that that changes the narrative of how great you are. And Nas is one of the greatest rappers to ever do it. And anybody, like I said, tell you any different, they're lying to you. Nas's legacy is beyond comprehension. It's something that you can't even speak on sometimes because to have the man still out here rapping better than half of the fucking rappers in the game today tells you about the longevity, his creativity, and his lyrical ability. The man is one of them. He is going to always be the one that everybody remembers because of how he one went up against Jay Z at the time, and two because of how many bodies of work he has created. The man has one of the greatest debut albums of all time. It will never fall. He has one of the greatest sequels to that debut album of all time. It can never be another. To say he was in the conversation when they look back on careers and say the man was in an era with Biggie, Pac, like Biggie and Pac, like Pac mentioned this man, like he knew Nas was that guy. Yeah. All in all, man, Nas is one of the greatest rappers of all time. Anybody that tells you any differently, you're lying. And I don't think you need to talk about hip hop or rap music ever because that is just crazy. Where does Nas rank on my list of top 10 rappers of all time? He's in the conversation. He's definitely in my top 10. I'm gonna do one. I'm gonna do a greatest rappers list at the end of this year. I already know that's what I'm gonna do at the end of 2024. But yeah, Nas is one of them rappers that you just remember. You remember where you was when you first heard Nas, man. And yeah. Speaking of that, he will be getting an album breakdown. He also will be getting a debate, and he also will be getting a top 10 list, which I'll be doing tonight. So be on the lookout for that. But until then, I am Brandon Janeau. This is the Brandon Janeau Show. Life and Times of Music, the artist breakdown. Nas. Thank you, Nas, for all the music that you have given us. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to see what you do with the rest of your career because the career you've had so far is monumental, my guy. Hall of Fame worthy, and I can't wait to see you get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because you deserve it. And your first ballot Hip Hop Hall of Fame, obviously. So thank you for the music that you've created. Next artist breakdown. I think I did it on him before. I don't know if I have or I haven't, but I will be doing one on him now, and that is Justin Timberlake. Till next time, I am Brian Janeau. Peace.